How's everyone? How's everyone doing? Sandeep is here in the office. Shivam is right now at his hometown. We have an entire team. Okay, Tushar is here. Hi, Tushar.
Tushar, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I said nice to meet you all.
Same as well. Same as well. So,
Okay.
just a quick round of introductions. Like, where are you guys joining from? Like, India, outside India, some cities, Bangalore.
I can maybe start with an introduction. I'm joining from London. I work for Booking.com. Yeah, that's me.
That's great. That's great. We had a recent interaction with Pankaj a few days before. So, Pankaj is from Hitachi. Rest I will leave to Pankaj.
Hey, thanks, Priyansh, for giving me an opportunity. So, hi everyone. This is Pankaj. I am working with Hitachi Vantara as an software architect there. I'm driving a couple of data products development and for on-prem Hitachi customers. And I'm having around 16 plus years of experience. I'm primarily worked into storage domain, storage and security, and worked towards Industry 4.0 use cases in the IoT space. Did one small project on the blockchain. So right now, my charter is to build next generation data solutions for Hitachi customers because we have majorly on-prem customers who are working on petabyte scale of data, and we are building data pipeline internally and lakehouse kind of solutions. So that's on the professional side. So on personal side, so I have two wonderful daughters. So my elder one is around 9, and the younger one, she's turning 6 this year. And my wife is a computer science teacher. And in my free time, I love cooking and traveling, and I'm a bit spiritual kind of guy. So I have a good faith in God. So that's about me. Over to you, Priyansh.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So yeah, the wait was worth the wait. Harshvardhan joined us to. Okay, I think we are good to go. Let me share my screen and tell you guys about the exciting things we've been doing over the past 2 weeks. And yep, I guess my screen is visible. So this, yeah. So is my screen visible? Can just someone give me a yes?
Yes.
Sure. So this is the fourth edition of our community meetup that we do almost on a bi-weekly basis. So this is the fourth edition. Next, moving on to the new features that we shipped in the past 2 weeks. So there was a new and faster packet writer for normalization. So we were. I'll just show you the PRs. That would be much better explanation than to just tell you what we are doing. So if I go here to the closed issues and yeah, migrating from Frogster to Parquet Go. So this week we implemented a better and faster Parquet writer for the normalization thing, level one flattening of the JSON data. Before, like a month ago, we did achieve the same feature just for normal JSON dumping into S3. So that's a new addition for normalization. Also, we have a better Parquet writer, which is faster. Then we have a stats file. So I'll just go and show you what I mean by the stats file feature. So now you have a stats.json file created wherever you either create your config file. We'll talk about that in a minute. So now you see the estimated time remaining, the memory used, number of running threads, time elapsed, things records, etc., and speeds as well. So you can monitor that now, which were not the case a few weeks back, but now you have that access as well. The third thing is we have given you a Docker Compose for replica setting of MongoDB. So if you just go to docs, sources, MongoDB, and set up replica set, you have an extensive GIF as well as entire Docker Compose file, how to set it up, the commands, what should be the source configuration, etc., for macOS and PowerShells, etc. That's a new feature. We'll demo this in front of you live in a few minutes. The third or fourth thing, we have split vector strategy enabled That means, in short, I can just say that if I go to my configuration file, we have a partitioning strategy or partition strategy in which if there's someone at the meeting. Hey, hi Naveen. We just started, so I guess you won't be missing on much things, but recording will be available. So if you just head over to OLake YouTube, link will be in the description as well as at the footer of our olake.io. So you can get all the recordings and the sessions, whatever we discussed till now. Okay, so split vector strategy. So if I go to configurations, source configurations, we have a partition strategy which has a timestamp as a value, and if you leave the values as empty as I have done in my configuration file, it will fetch the documents from the MongoDB or from the source connectors on the basis of number of, you can say, MBs or let me go and show you what I mean. So the max chunk size you can set up in your local. If you set this up as 1240 or 1 GB, it will fetch records, each fetch Parquet records 1 GB each file. If you set it as 1 MB or 2 MB or 3 MB, it will set it up. It will fetch the records or make chunks of those file sizes. So initially we were fetching based on timestamp from like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute timestamp values. But now you have an option to either give it a chunk size or add timestamp, like if I go and write timestamp, so we'll use the timestamp method here instead of the split vector thing. So that was a cool addition. Then exponential, backoff is live, resumable, full load is live. So if you remember our past meetups, we told you that these are in PRs under review. Now these features are live. It's extensively documented. Please go have a look at our documentation. Backoff retry count 1 2 3 4. You can read the description what we mean by the count values. What if your sync fails? How many times OLake will try to retry, the number of times, etc., etc. So these were all the new features. Some new PRs in review about the Iceberg writer, which we discussed in the last meet. What's the progress of that, and then the demo time. So this is the agenda of the meeting. I hope everyone is in line with me. Yes, I'm getting some thumbs up from the users. Sorry, from our community members. Great, 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 great. So let's go and see about the pull request. So we are in process of adding MySQL as our source, Postgres as our source, and we just released a test releaser to build OLake images locally. So if I go to pull requests, if I go to open pull requests, so we have work in progress for MySQL, work in progress for Postgres, and a test releaser which was just opened 6 hours ago by Shubham. So this will allow you to make OLake images locally. You can read the description, how it works, how it doesn't work. The documentation for this will be live in a couple of days. Then you'll be able to test and verify the images as mentioned in this description. So MySQL and Postgres were a lot like a priority for us because users were asking us, "Ki, okay, it's okay, you have MongoDB source, but we like to have MySQL and Postgres as our source because most of our data is not in Mongo but in MySQL, and we need it urgently." So that was the intention behind we pursued MySQL and Postgres. And about the Iceberg writer, we have been speaking from day one that Iceberg or data lake houses will be the ultimate goal of OLake, that will dump data in as efficient, as fast ways, supporting schema evolutions, compaction as much as possible. So here it is. It's in work in progress. This is being designed in Java right now, but we'll be moving to Rust or better Rust for better you can say memory management optimizations. So you can find here, go to pull request, work in progress, feature Iceberg writer, and it has a workable code right now. You can go check the files, what things are there, what things are not there. Feel free to give us some contributions or suggestions on how to implement. If you want to test it out, you can just pull this branch and see for yourself where things make sense, where it doesn't make sense, added normalizations, increase the RPC. So Shubham would be a better person to explain how things are working right now in the Iceberg Writer, the things that he's working right now, the things that will be supported in the second version of the Iceberg Writer. So Shubham, if you can hear me, let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, thanks, Priyansh, for the introduction. Just to clarify, there was one slight minor mistake in the last the releaser description. So basically, the releaser that we are releasing right now is more or less for creating a Docker images from the any branch except for master and staging. So if you want to create your own kind of a sort of a Docker image for it, and you want to test your some branch, you can basically release an image and test it on basically your local. So what it does, it has a basic CI/CD option where it just releases a dev image of whatever the branch you have. Apart from that, the Iceberg writer is almost ready. The Iceberg writer has mainly been written using gRPC and Java. So we have been using a project, one of the good open source projects called Debezium Iceberg Server, which takes the records in the form of Debezium output and just ingests into the Iceberg. And we were already using this project. We have done a lot of good testings on this project, and this has a lot of good features like schema evolution, and couple of other features like, let's say, the upserts, inserts, equality, deletes. So we thought of why to reinvent the wheel, but we can simply reuse this project for now, because it has been maintained by a couple of other open source community people. So I have modified this project a bit, and then basically I'm using the jar which is created by this project into the Golang code and passing the records, whatever we are getting from databases, using a RPC call to this jar. And then it basically ingests the records in a form of like Parquet sizes of 256 MBs or more. So in the current V0, we are primarily focusing on getting the Iceberg writer ready for basic upserts, and concurrency level and other sorts of improvement we are going to add later. But right now, Iceberg writer just operates on a per stream concurrency. I think this question we have got from other people as well. Catalogs, we are supporting REST catalogs, Hive, and Glue. So we have these three catalogs supported. We'll be also publishing some documentation once the PR is more or less ready and approved. We'll also be publishing certain documentation on how you can pass the catalog and other sorts of things into the Iceberg configuration. Great. Happy to answer any questions if anybody has.
One question, Shubham. So in Postgres, so the other question you already answered on that, I pasted over the chat. So in the Postgres, when you guys implemented the CDC stuff, I didn't get a chance to look at the PR, but just wanted to ask. So you guys doing it through well strategy, or because there are a couple of ways, pub sub, notification, listen, notify. So which you find is the most efficient way of doing it?
So there are three primary ways that we have seen people using in the past majorly. One is more or less a cursor based approach. I would say that you maintain a bookmark of a column that user provides to you. Another one is a xmin approach, which can read. It's called xmin, right? And the third one is a proper like a wall based approach. We are not going forward with the notification or some of that approach, because it adds a good amount of load on the database for every operation out there. So we are going right now, the primarily option that we are implementing is going to be the wall CDC, write ahead logs. And in that, right now we are going forward with the PG output, but that's up for the discussions if PG output is the right plugin or not. So the current way it's going to happen is, first the full load will happen using chunking breaking the tables into multiple chunks. We'll load all the chunks in parallel using most likely a CTID approach, or maybe some other, like there is one more chunking strategy that Ankit has recently implemented. Ankit would be a better person to ask questions around chunking and all, but for the CDC part, I would say Wall is the best strategy because it's quite fast and you don't actually perform queries on the databases. So that's the most performant and the fast approach. Yeah.
Okay. And in the Iceberg writer, so like generally in lakehouse architecture, so how enterprise are doing, they are using some sort of catalog, whether it's a REST base or open source solution like Nessie, and they are configuring. And whenever any data insertion is happening, primarily the ingestion part, so all the metadata is being managed in the catalog, and the catalog is talking to your storage layer, which is dumping data into a, let's say, Parquet or Avro, whatever format is being configured. So in the Iceberg writer, so you are bypassing the catalog layer completely and just dumping data onto the disk, or is it some abstraction you are using through which data is finally going to the storage layer?
Yeah, actually, we are directly dumping into Iceberg S3 kind of a storage mode. We are not dumping anywhere locally and all. What we are doing is we are just keeping on collecting the records till the point they reach, let's say, a couple of 100 MBs for a particular string, particular table, right? As we get data from either from the full load or the write ahead logs. And then once we get that threshold, we'll just dump the data directly into Iceberg Parquet as an append, right? Iceberg has two modes of inserting the data. One is the simple append, creating simple append files, and then another one is basically creating the equality delete files, where these are mainly used for the upserts. So for the full load, we'll directly insert data into Parquets as an append file in the Iceberg, and then for the update or upserts, we'll use equality deletes to dump the data and directly into again Iceberg. So we're not bypassing the catalog to answer your question. So catalog is still being used. Because to create this append or equality deletes, you need to go through catalog.
Okay. Which catalog you guys used for this use case?
So right now we have done a testing on the Glue, but the project that I talked about, the Debezium server Iceberg, it supports REST catalog, Glue, and Hive primarily.
Okay. And do you have plans, maybe a bit on that same question, do you have plans to go to federated kind of a cataloging system like Polaris? Because I've seen generally it's in big companies, it's mostly like, there are multiple Glue catalogs, right? It's not just one. So you need to support multiple of them without setting the whole system again and again, right?
That's a great suggestion, actually. Right now we would like to support as many things around Iceberg as possible, so that people should consider OLake as the best way forward to move to Iceberg, right? From their database or other sources data. So what we can do is, Tushar, if you have any certain suggestions around how to basically create this federated kind of a structure, or if you have seen it in some places using, like many people are kind of using multiple catalogs to do the federated cataloging. So you can create a basic issue or an improvement ticket on the project, and we'll definitely take it forward from there. We do definitely want to implement this.
Okay, just a bit on this same thing, like it's like a data mesh concept, right? So you can onboard whatever data catalog you want, and the whole system just connects to Polaris. And when you onboard a new business unit or a new business domain, you just add a new catalog to the Polaris, and then the whole system knows where to go, how to interact with the storage layer, and and the system just comes out as a data mesh network, because you don't have to set up the same thing and again for different business units. So I think this is what I've done in booking as well. This is where booking is also moving forward. So yeah, happy to kind of go through details and go through how we can do it, something on this side.
Definitely. I mean, that's a really good idea, because multiple business units might have multiple different requirement when it comes down to governance or other sorts of things that catalog might offer. So happy to discuss this as a feature request to take forward in the roadmap.
Okay.
Awesome.
One last question, Shubham. Have you guys did any compaction on the ingestion side yet?
No, actually not yet. So the compaction is there. Definitely, we are going to start researching on compaction. So I'll tell you a little bit of roadmap, and this is not set in the stones, but you can maybe consider this as a thought process that we are moving forward with. So we are definitely gonna start researching around how to do the compaction in the most efficient way starting from the March. And we are basically hiring a full-time person just to do this, and we want to create one of the most efficient algorithms around compactions going forward, and particularly around this, like we'll definitely publish some level of you can say roadmap or some level of thought process around it, but the main release or the main materializing this feature of compaction you would see happening around maybe June or something. So it's still like 3 to 4 months down the line, but we definitely have this in our mind.
All right.
Just on the same side, compaction. What I've seen is, as a requirement, we can compact whatever we want, however we want. That's not a big deal. But when we compact, we basically remove some of the snapshots from the Iceberg, right? There's generally a requirement from the GDPR perspective or from other regulations perspective that you need to store the snapshot at some layer, right? So what we do at Booking is like we don't just completely remove the snapshots. We do compact our production data, but we do move the older snapshots to a cold storage, just to make sure we don't fall into any legal issues around that. So I think that's a very important requirement for going ahead for at least on the how the world is revolving around data, and the regulations are getting stricter and stricter going ahead, right? So do keep that as part of your requirement in compaction, that just don't delete it, but store it at some place instead of just deleting. And that obviously reduces your storage cost and reduces your reading capacity and everything, right? So you don't have to really bother about making the cold storage to be very readable, right? It can be just somewhere lying for the legal perspective.
No, definitely makes sense. Like particularly compacting and removing the snapshots where like certain level of upserts were done. Like usually things that get compacted is like we do the overwriting part in a new parquet, and the older parquets gets archived or deleted in if we set that setting. I have personally worked with a company, a big Japanese company, which had the GDPR compliances implemented. So I do understand we cannot delete that history on how the records were changed, over the time. So I agree to the fact that we might have to implement the compaction in a way that we just move this to a more cheaper alternative storage rather than just deleting stuff. This is a good requirement. We can definitely keep this in mind when we are designing the compaction. If we are designing it fully from the scratch, like from let's say full ground zero. Right?
Yeah. And one thing that I haven't found a solution yet, and I don't even have an approach for that yet, is like time travel, right? So when you do compact, there's a requirement that for legal perspective, we might have to time travel and go back what happened in the in the past, right? Beyond 6 months, 1 year, it's fine. But if you go even beyond that, like let's say GDPR says 7 years of retention period for the timelines, right? Time travel. So how do you make sure that 7 years of data, last 7 years of data lies in the cold storage, but you are still able to time travel to that data and be able to return the data, maybe without bad latency? That's fine, because it's not a requirement for the analytical purposes, right? It's a more requirement for, someone is asking what happened to my data, and then you go and you get the data, right? So current solutions don't really offer that flexibility. So it's not impossible. It is possible, but I think no one has just worked on this yet. So I think this is something to take care of the compaction activity as well.
No, makes sense. I think for this, my thought is like particularly we need a compaction for snapshots because I think if you just kind of keep all the snapshots and just dump it into the more cheaper storage, they will still be expensive because the number of snapshots that you will be having is going to be quite huge. Because let's say if you have 1,000 small files, right, and you compact them and merge it into like a 1 or 2 big files, then those small 1,000 smaller files will be moved, and the overall size would be much higher than the ones one really big compacted file. So definitely your question is valid, and this would be a requirement for like enterprise level companies like Booking, because if you're going to store 7-year worth of data, you'll need to highly compact the snapshots as well, or the and then basically move to a more cheaper version or more cheaper alternative. So the compression is really high because really big parquets are there and all, right? So I think again a really good suggestion. We can definitely think about this in the roadmap going forward for the compaction. Can you please help me with creating a ticket where all of these ideas of GDPR compliance and like little better sort of compaction for 7 years kind of a time frame data, you can, if you can add it as an improvement or some level of advanced features in the compaction, that would be really great.
Yeah, I'll have to. I haven't gone through the Git yet properly, but I'll see how to do that, create issues, and I'll be able to do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely. Yeah. Yes, I'll send you the details somehow.
Do reach out to me on Slack if you have any questions.
Yeah,
definitely. The point Tushar just made, it just led me to think amalgamation of blockchain into a data industry. So the use case where Tushar is saying if we have to do a time travel, right? So blockchain is a very good solution which does that. So when I was working with IBM Cloud Platform team, so there was a product called Connect Direct. It's basically peer-to-peer file transfer solution which IBM enterprise customer uses. So I was working on a use case. So let's say if two parties are doing some transaction, let's say I'm from India, I'm sending some financial document to a US, and if file doesn't reach on time, or let's say file gets corrupted, and there are some legal compliance gets involved behind the scenes. Other party may put a penalty, other party may file a lawsuit claiming that the sending party did not start the transfer on time, and there are so many scenarios where the financial stuff or the millions of dollars gets involved in this all legal lawsuits. So what we did at that moment, we used the Hyperledger Fabric, one of the framework from IBM. And whenever any file transaction happens, that transaction gets logged into the ledger basically, and that is distributed. So if anyone is doing any transaction, everyone is aware of that, and it's once it's written, it can't be reverted because it's all hash based. So no one can deny that I haven't done that. So it's a very imaginary concept, like how to handle. There could be multiple ways of doing this, but just I'm sharing this thought. You guys think, and if you feel is this kind be a solution can come up in future, or this could be a good strategy where such GDPR or legal compliance happens whenever data movements are happening across different systems and across different region, whether it's on-prem to cloud or cloud to on-prem, or let's say between different customer also. So just have a thought and share your insights on this. If you have some comment, you can share right away. Otherwise, you can put on the discussion group of the OLake. I'll follow up on this from there as well.
Sure, sounds good, Pankaj. I think personally, I'll have to read a bit about the basically the concepts that you just mentioned. I'm not really familiar with the blockchain technology that you mentioned, so I'll have to read a bit before I can comment.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. One last question, Shubham, I have is like merge on read versus merge on write. Is it configurable? Is it part of the architecture right now? Or
right now, particularly for the current use case, we are simply going forward with like equality deletes as a default mode of writing, which is MOR equality deletes. There are like in MOR they have positional delete and equality deletes. Equality delete doesn't need any spark while you're writing, so it's more faster. Especially the requirement for the CDC is like we need to sync as quick as possible. But definitely for the people who are looking to have MOR positional delete, or let's say a COW, will introduce a Spark based kind of a solution where you can configure your Spark clusters to also do the COW kind of a write. As of now, we are going forward with the basic, quality deletes because it's much more faster compared to anything else.
And it makes sense for now, but I think in future you will need the other strategy as well, because
Definitely, we have it in actually designs. We were actually creating a good amount of design around the UI that we will be introducing in next 1 to 2 months. We have it in designs, but as of now, in the code part, we are yet to be implementing the MOR and CWs.
okay, sounds good.
Guys, anything like that the development team can ask questions, or Priyansh, you can take it forward. Maybe we can answer questions at the end.
Sure, Shubham. Sure. Like these are the kind of talks we organize our community meetups for. The last, I think, 25 to 30 minutes were absolutely knowledge crushers for me. I got to know about so many things which I had not thought of. Thanks to Shar and Pankaj for sharing this with us. We'll continue having these meetups, usually bi-weekly, because then we'll have some great features to talk about. And sure, if no one has any questions, we'll start with the demo time. Okay, great. So just let me head over to the docs for this. Sources, MongoDB. So just a quick demo on how you can set up MongoDB replica set. So first of all, you have to go and just copy this Docker Compose command. Go to your editor. I have already made a Docker Compose.yaml, paste over here. Then open your terminal and perform the commands. The commands are also given in. Okay, we are not using Dockerized OLake version. We are just using local build OLake version for the reasons I'll let you know in a minute. So just copy this Docker Compose. What it will does, it will initialize a replica set. It will load some sample ready data set of around 27 rows, and these are the host configurations that you will be needing. Username, admin, password will be password. I know password is not the correct or the thing that you should set your passwords, but since it's a demo, we're good with it. Just copy the command wherever you have your Docker Compose file created. Go to your terminal, run the command. So because I have already initiated or created the containers, it will just recreate it for the time being. Let's wait for a while. And then we have the commands for discover schema, sync the data, and sync the data with state. So okay, so now that it's created, let's see. Docker ps, yep, everything looks great. Now let's go and check if we have our correct configurations. So configure.json looks good. Localhost, admin, password, max threads, let's reduce it to 30 for now. Timestamp based strategy, okay, we'll just remove timestamp, and now it will use the other strategy that I talked about. Yep, split vector strategy. I forgot the name, so I had to go and reference it again. Great. Now back on the replica set thing. Use local build. We have the configs ready. Docker compose up. Now let's copy paste this command. So wherever you have cloned the repository, just paste the path over here. Then in my configurations, I have put it
So
inside.
there's a question in the chat, like what is the Docker
Oh,
file
sorry.
is for?
Let me see the talk. What is a Docker file and what
I
is
think the
the
Docker
use
compute
case?
that you just ran.
Sure. So let's say you have your host somewhere in the cloud, or you have your production database somewhere in the cloud. But just to test OLake, you might not want to connect it to see how it works or how it doesn't work. So we have provided you with a compose file, which where you can just spin up a local Docker desktop, or on Linux you can do it on the CLI based thing, and have some sample data to see how exactly OLake works, what kind of data it's sending, the file format. So within just few clicks, you will have your data from MongoDB to Parquet format, either in your local setup or in your S3. So this setup is just for you to get to know OLake better. If you don't already have a Mongo database somewhere, or a replica set somewhere made up. So I think that answers the questions, Ankit. Or would you like to add something to it? Sure. I think
Hello. Yeah, that answers the question.
sure. Thanks, Ankit. And quick shout out to Ankit. He's been one of our main backend developers working on OLake mostly day and night. So plus we have Vikash also. So after we are done with the demo time, we'll have a quick. I'll ask all of you to please just turn on your videos for a moment so we can take a quick screenshot for it. So everyone gets to know everyone who's working on the team. Our entire OLake team is in this call. So thanks everyone. Now let me resume. Great. So you have to just change the path over here. So for reference of this video, I already edited my path, so I don't have to do it. Just saves few seconds of my time. Just have to go to editor, write the command, run the script build.sh. We are using discover for now, so it will create a catalog.json file, which I'll let you know. Okay, so this is actually the raw dump of what the catalog.json file will have. So let's go here, see the catalog.json, right click and format the document. So basically it will contain the stream name, the streams which we want to sync, and these are all the available streams which have, because for this Reddit sample dataset database, I have just one collection. It's called funny. You might have a bunch of streams, something like funny or funny 2 or funny 3. So select or remove the collections that you want or you don't want to sync to either your local system or to S3. So for the purpose of this video, I'll just stream this collection only. Now let me go back and copy the sync command, paste it over here. Let me copy the OLake base path. Great. So my command is now ready. It will tell me the destination is writer.json. You need to take the catalog from catalog.json. Great. Now I'll show you the writer file. So for purpose of this video, I'm just dumping into local Parquet. If you want to dump into S3, please head over to our docs. You can go to configurations. Yep, writer the config. So this is the docs for local Parquet writer. What all fields you need, what are things you can expect, what mount.config/config means, or for S3 writer you need a bucket, region, access key, secret key. For more details you can go to S3 writer to see from where or how these fields are, the possible probable values of those fields, and here, this is how it will look like well data is dumped into S3. So okay, great. Let me take the command over here, paste, and yep, so it will be, yep, that's how fast the sync is. But basically the record number that I had in my funny collection was just 27. So it, like in a fraction of second, it dumped the data. So if I go back and see stat.json, so it got updated with the time it required, estimated like 2 minutes. Like at the end it won't go.
Priyansh is not get updated. I think
Let me delete it once. Just resync. Okay, I might have to take the latest pull for this to work, but this config, yeah. So the local path I set was output 28 because it's 28th of February. You can go to output 28 and see this is the sample data that we synced. Just wait for a while to load. Yep. So this is the Parquet format I'm using basically Parquet format explorer. It will let me see the content inside the Parquet, or you can just go and say view data or describe data to see the kind of data that it was. OLake IDs work are begin. So if you use normalization as turned on, let's say if I make this true and then resync the data, so two more files will get created, and this is the normalized version of the same funny data collection. And if I go and say describe data, now this is the normalized version of the same data with the worker blob storage, boolean kind of data types that we support. So that was a quick demo of how this works, how this doesn't work. And yep. So any questions or anything that we are here to discuss, or the things that community members want to know what we are working or how we are working, please let us know. We can directly connect to us over Slack. Just DM individual members, or you can just ask questions in all the discussion channels or support channels for helping. If you need help setting it locally, or how to dump data somewhere, any issues, just you can let us know, and we'll be more than happy to help you out with this. Yes, we'll be adding more comparisons in the coming weeks. Yes. Sure, Tushar. The benchmarking docs are available inside each connector. So for MongoDB, we have connected benchmarking docs. For Postgres, we'll be releasing soon. We are also trying to benchmark us against Flink. So those will be out soon is enough. Okay, I think
Okay.
yeah, that was all the things that we set out as agenda to discuss in our fourth OLake community meetup. So the floor is open to all. Anyone? Yeah, Sandeep. I think Sandeep Kumar they joined us late. So hi, Sandeep. Hi, Naveen. I think
Hi,
yeah, yeah,
hi, hi, team.
yeah.
It's my first time interacting with you all, and I'm currently in my pre-final year
Oh, that's great.
and looking for opportunities.
Sure.
So,
So let me give you a
since
quick overview of how you can basically contribute to us. You can grow your portfolio as well. That's like in colleges we are told, if you have an experience contributing to open source projects, you can count that as a real world experience. Like if you don't have
right,
any internships, anything, contribute to any open source project.
right. So I have started contributing to open source since last 3 months. So, and also means preparing for GSOC means applying to companies, contributing to different projects.
So we have two kind of filters. Like one is beginner filter and one is good first issues. So please go through those beginner issues. Like this is kind of a beginner issue that you can pick up. Vikas, as you can see in here, we have Vikas currently describing this issue, what things we need to do, what things are, and how those things work.
Mhm.
You can just reach out to Ankit. He's also working to set up issues here, assigning issues, tagging issues. So please reach out to us with anything, and we'll be happy to help you.
Okay, so what is the tech stack you guys are following?
It's pretty much Go for the backend, and we'll be having some form of Rust as well in the coming few weeks, just for mainly for the Iceberg writer. But basically, it's
Okay.
Golang, Go.
Mhm.
Also, if you feel the docs, let me see. Yep. So we also have an open sourced documentation site. So if you feel anything is wrong with the documentation, please come here, raise an issue, or go to your favorite part of the page. Like suppose you have some issues with the overview page, just click open OLake doc issue. It will get you redirected to OLake docs with the URL where you're coming from, and you can describe your issue here. This way it will help me to better understand what was missing from the docs, and I can easily or quickly uh, add those missing part of the things. So yeah, that was a
Got you.
quick overview. Sure.
Yeah,
So
I
I
have.
guess
Yeah, Priyansh. I just wanted to ask about the MySQL one. So you guys are working on the MySQL side, right? Is it also going to support RDS, Aurora on
Yes,
AWS?
yes,
It is the same thing, right?
yes.
Okay, perfect. That's a way forward because a lot of the MySQL things are moving to AWS, and lift and shift is easiest on RDS. So there's a lot of requirement I think coming out there.
okay, great. I think we have achieved what we set out to achieve from this community meetup. Lastly, I would request our team members, please, if possible, just turn on your videos so you can just take a quick selfie, or I can say a screenshot in computer terms.
Guys, just to one quick thing before we actually shut down, I would like to give a quick trailer or kind of a teaser for the Iceberg writer. So let me quickly share my screen in a minute or so. I'll
Sure.
just give you a quick kind of a walkthrough. So hope you can see my screen. A really quick walkthrough. I'll not go through much on setting up parts and all. So imagine we have a
Shubham,
database and
if you can just zoom in a bit.
okay, sorry. So imagine we have let's say a MongoDB database. Right now, I'm just going to give it on MongoDB because Postgres and MySQL is still in progress. And imagine if we, let's say, update, imagine this table is already synced in Iceberg. And imagine if we update this, let's say, to some value of 317. Now, ideally, you would want to get this synced into your Iceberg table, and you should see updated value as an upsert will happen. So I was explaining to Tushar, we are doing equality deletes which are way faster. So if I just go ahead and sync my code from here, I have just for you guys to remember, I have modified this Shubham 7 entry, which I created for testing in the INCR2 table. So if I just go ahead and run this, it will just like kind of finish and yeah, it's more or less running. Let us go to the AWS console. And so this is my it's we are testing it on the Glue catalog right now. So we have two tables which are INC 1 and 2, which we were testing on in the MongoDB. And right now the entry for Shubham 7 is basically 217, which we updated to kind of 317. So yeah, as you can see here, it's updated on the same entry like Shubham 7. It's basically updated to 317. And it also has given me an timeline, like time on when the update was happened, basis on this. That's how it basically changed. All of the previous records are of operation R, which basically means the full load or the read in Debezium terms, and this is of updated. This is of operation type U, which means an update. So you'll be able to see those kind of things inserted in your Iceberg things, and you should be able to query them here, right here in Athena or any other query query engine which supports Iceberg. So yeah, again it was just a quick demo on how the sync was happening.
Nice, nice. I do want to understand how you will implement schema evolution at some maybe later, but that is going to be thing, right? Has to be part of the thing, right? The schemas evolve, and you need to make sure that Iceberg is also evolved automatically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we do have a really basic schema evaluation, like adding of new columns and basic sort of stuff. We are also parsing certain non-compatible data types and seeing if they belong to the original data type. Like if your int column gets into a string, we still pass that string and see if it gives you an int, kind of a thing. We have that kind of a basic schema evaluation, but for the schema evaluation of non-compatible types, type changes, and such a complex things, we definitely will have to use some level of kind of you know I mean some other techniques here, which we can go deep into at a later point in time. But yeah, I mean dead letter queues and all will be in the picture. So
How I categorize it is like a minor or a major schema change, and if my pipeline detects a minor schema change, fine, I'll manage it automatically. If it is a major schema change, then yeah, definitely it has to be a new version of the data asset, a new version of the table, and then the final outcome is like for the users, how you combine the two schemas and you present a view which is hidden, like for the end user, right? So I think that is no one is doing. I have never seen any tech doing that at the moment. So we have implemented a kind of I have implemented a kind of a in-house version of it, but it's not at the scale of what enterprises would want. So I think that's something I haven't found a great solution yet. So it would be interesting if we can solve that here as well.
Yeah, I mean, like again, I would say that if you have a good idea around this, can you please explain like with the example of okay, like you have implemented this like this, and if you can implement a similar solution with OLake, and especially key schema evolutions are the most part where a lot of headache happens for data engineers, right? So I understand the pain. I have felt it personally many times while in the designing the pipelines, right? So yeah, I mean, definitely, if you can open an issue and just explain some kind of a product idea or a schema evolution ideas, we can implement it as a product feature or a tech feature both, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And for all of these things which I discussed today, like you want me to open the issue, right? There's no other way to kind of generate a requirement. It's the issue on the Git is basically a requirement as well.
Exactly, yes. So basically, we have a GitHub projects. We are using GitHub projects extensively, and GitHub projects map to a certain issue in the Git issues. So you can either open a GitHub project, or you can directly open an issue which will convert it to a GitHub project task or something.
Perfect. Got it.
So one comment to add what Tushar is talking about schema evolution. So we did one POC. So the Apache Iceberg SDK provides this support. So it's like simple. Let's say you have a five, let's say employee table, and you have three fields: name, ID, and phone number. Right? You store this into Iceberg, and the file format is Parquet. Now, let's say on the data source side, another column comes up: employee email ID. Right. So you simply take that field, and basically what we did, we used PyArrow, the Arrow framework, and the Py Iceberg. That was a quick Python POC just to check the concept. And we created a Apache like Arrow data frame, and we simply appended whatever the new data came up, the new schema basically. We updated the data frame, and that data frame we inserted via catalog, and then catalog internally takes care of schema, how it is going to handle the schema within the Iceberg, because that's the feature of Iceberg schema evolution and the asset properties. You don't need to do anything on the client application side. You just need to pass the data as per the Iceberg SDK and the catalog, whatever you are using, and it should take care internally. That's what my experience in the POC that one of my team member did and showed to me.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I'll just add a very recent business problem which I faced. Is like there was a huge MySQL table, and if you do any schema change on a MySQL table, it takes a whole bunch of OSC time and all, right? We have tables which takes like 30 days or even 60 days to do a schema change. Now, someone just made a tricky thing, like they changed the name of the column because adding a column, removing a column, good, yeah, Iceberg is able to handle it. But because of the OSC issues, they just found a column which is not used in the table, and they thought, this is never used, we'll just change the name of this column and we'll start using this column. Now the whole thing breaks, because Iceberg doesn't work on the column names and etc. It works on the order of the column, right? So now Iceberg just got confused, because what does it? Iceberg doesn't even understand what this column is, right? So there's no way you can solve this, right? You have to create a new data asset. You have to create a new table and somehow join the older table and the new table and come up with a new view, right? Uh, uh, this is this is kind of a stupid problem, but it's a real problem, right? Because people have these renaming the column. Also, when you have a struct data type, right, you change the order of the struct, right? That just completely blows away the Iceberg schema evolution as well. The Iceberg is unable to handle if you change anything within nested data structure. If you change the order of the nested data structure, it just blows away. That also Iceberg is unable to handle automatically. So minor changes fine, but major changes, how we come up with a proper solution for that for enterprises, I think that's a problem to solve, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting use case. So what exactly, like before doing any ingestion, you have to do schema validation, what is coming and what is there in Iceberg, and
Yeah,
then
we
based on design your algorithm, how if there is a delta, so whether you're going to create a new table or whether you're going to delete the old, or yeah, that's a very a nice use case.
we always have like v1 v2 kind of a, like if the table name is charge, that's a charge v1, like it, and if the data asset evolves, right, v1 from v1 to v2, we generally suggest people not to do any schema in a major way, right? So that is still an unsolvable problem, but not yet solved. I checked with the Snowflake team. I worked with the Snowflake architects. They haven't found a solution yet for the same thing. And even in AWS, I couldn't find, on Redshift side, I couldn't find any solution on that side as well. So it's an interesting problem. I'm really interested in solving this problem, and see how we can solve it.
Sure,
So what
sure,
the app
sure.
AWS guys generate, Tushar? Have you any idea? If
Sorry.
schema doesn't match, what error the user will get? Have you?
It will just fail. The Iceberg will say the schema cannot be evolved automatically,
Oh.
and you just fail it. So what we do, we have like in our pipeline, we have a schema evolutor, which which matches the schema. If it is a minor schema evolution, we just evolve the schema with the minor version. It's like 1 to 1.1 or 1.1 to 1.2 of the data asset, and it's fine. But if it is a major schema evolution, it creates an alert to the data quality teams and data stewards and everything. And then at the back end, it creates a new version of, because we still want to load the data. We don't want to stop the pipeline. We want the consumers to get the data. But if the producer has changed the schema in a major version, there's something, as a platform team where I sit, I cannot control that, right? So it is up to the source, like the producer and the consumer, to figure out how they want to solve this problem. As a platform, I can generate a new data asset, right? And then it is up to the consumers to kind of go and union the whole data sets, or come up with a new data set. But then this is a solution. This is a working solution, that you create two data assets and you union these two data assets and create a view out of it. But then it is not performant, right? You lose the Iceberg, a lot of the Iceberg features and time travel and whatnot, right? So this is where this is the problem which I want to solve, right? Without creating a new data asset, how do you create a new data asset?
Sure, sir. That will be an interesting problem to solve, but we are just running out of time. So I would like to just wrap things up. So just request everyone to please, if possible, turn on the video so we can take a quick selfie. And yeah, open to. Okay, so hi Sitej. Hi, hi, hi. Yeah, I can see Akshat as well. Hi, Akshat. And yes, Swati is also here. Ankit is also back. Akash is also here. Vikas is also here. So that's great. Let me take a quick screenshot and I'll take a quick selfie as well. Okay, great. So thanks, guys. Oh, Sandeep is also here. Hi, Sandeep. It's nice to see you. Great. So yeah, guys, we are out of time for now. Let's see you in coming weeks. I'll surely post all the updates, the recording of this video on our community Slack channel for you to reference later. Thanks all for discussing. Thanks Tushar. Thanks. Yeah, Pankaj. I'm not able to find you where you are.
Thank you, folks. Tushar, we can basically connect on this maybe after the call. I can see that you have a really great suggestions. Maybe we can just create some good tickets around it so that we can discuss and pick it up later.
Yeah, I'll join your Slack channel. And today I am kind of busy, but yeah, by next week I'll be able to create some issues, at least on my local, and then I'll work it out with you to kind of put it on the Git.
Sure, awesome.
I'll reach out to you on Slack.
Thank you,
Thank
Vishal.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks Harshvardhan as well.
You know, you had a good discussion when you were overshooted by half an hour or so. So, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.